Dear Timberland. So today I am going to show you how to do a tubeless wheel. What I'm setting up here today is my son's mountain bike wheels. This principle works on pretty much any wheel, so don't stress too much about tyre whips, rims, any of that. What I'm working on here is a standard rim, but I'm going to be fitting some tubeless compatible tyres to it. So these are the tyres that I've got here. These are Michelin Advanced grip bars, tubeless ready, and the ones that are on here at the moment are WTB B lines, which aren't tubeless at all. So we've got an inner tube in there. We're going to start by removing the tyre. This particular tyre is very easy to remove without a tyre lever, so that's a joy. Take that and the inner tube out. So we're going to keep the inner tube, because you never know when it might come in handy. And the old tyre, get rid of that. And as you can see in here, there is rim tape in there, but this is just standard rim tape. So this stuff is not tubeless compatible. This needs to be taken out. So when we take this out, we'll remove this. It comes out dead easy, and you've now got a bare rim. As you can see, there's a bit of residue on that rim, so I'm going to give that a clean up and then dry it off, and then I'll show you how to fit the tape. So tubeless tape, rim tape, is very specific in that it can handle the high pressures that tubeless air creates. So I sound like I'm talking bollocks, but there's a lot of pressure going in that you need to keep all that air pressure inside, and tubeless tape does that, which normal rim tape just won't do. There's lots of different varieties you can use. A lot of people swear by Gorilla Tape, which I have used in the past. There is the proper iron, this is DT Swiss tape, which is good, but the one that I use pretty much 99.9% of the time, because it's cheap and it works, is Tessa 4289 tape. This is a 60 metre roll which you can pick up on eBay for around about a tenner, and for 60 metres for £1 per buck. It's just brilliant stuff, it's really good. So we've got this nice and clean now. Actually, when I've cleaned it down, I've noticed that this particular rim has got a very recessed bead, so that actually means that it is tubeless compatible. So happy days, it's should hopefully set up quite easily. So I'm going to set the camera up, so hopefully it will capture me putting the rim tape on there, and we'll see how it goes. We've got the rim tape, got a pair of scissors ready for when we've finished putting the tape around here. Now what you want to try and do is get this as flush and as tight as possible. Little tip, it's a warm day today, so I don't need to prime this tape, but it's a good idea if it's cold to stick it in on the microwave, on the radiator for 10 minutes or so, just to sort of activate the glue on there. Now what we're looking for is the hole that the valve is going to go through, and we're going to start at that point. So if we can find it, where has it gone? Here we are. So this is where, see there, the hole for the valve. We're going to start about an inch or a couple of spoke holes away from there, just so you get a good cover. We're going to put 2 rounds of this tape on. I'll start here, try and get it as central as possible, and then as you're applying it, pressing it down, and as I say, trying to get it as central on the rim as you possibly can. So getting it flush, getting it tight, trying to get all the air bubbles out of there as you're applying it. So as you can see, I'm pulling tight with here, I'm pushing down with my thumb as I'm going around, just trying to get that nice and centrally in the bead. If it doesn't sit quite centrally, don't be afraid to pull it back. Now you can get away with 1 layer of this, but I'm going to put 2 layers on, just so I can guarantee that this tyre will inflate straight away. As you can probably see outside, it's a bit of a wet day. This is a great little job to do when the weather's a bit crap. So you see, we're just trying to get that in nice and central, get it right in there. If you want to scrimp and you just want to do one layer, that's fine. When you get around, so as you can see, we're getting around to near the end now where we started. If you're going to do just one layer, then you need to make sure that you go right over, again, a couple of spoke lengths to the other side. So we've got the valve hole is just here where my finger is. You would cut off about there. So that's where the valve hole is here. You're going to cut off about there just to guarantee it. But I'm going to go around one more time just so we've got a nice thick layer, because I know how my son rides. He's an absolute monster on the bike. He likes riding stairs, he likes to ride big drop-offs. He's a beast. So I want to make sure these are going to hold the bead really strongly. So again, just make sure that tape's sticking right down. Just run the finger along. And we're going to be coming to the valve hole soon. See if I can find it. Yeah, it's just over there. So where my finger is there now is where the valve hole is. So we're going to make sure it goes right across. Get that nice and central. There, perfect. Oops, excuse me. Snip that off and push it down. So that's one wheel done. What I'm going to show you shortly is where we're going to put the hole through so that we can attach the valve. I'm just going to push all this down, make sure it's nice and flush. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be, you know, airtight, which is what this is. Okay, so where my finger is where the valve hole is. What we need to do is make a small incision here, just large enough so that we can push the valve through and not make too much of a mess with it, hopefully, because if you make your hole too big, then air's going to leak out. So that's that. Let's see if we can get this valve through. See, there's a very tiny incision there. Just pop that off there. Now, some people will do ghetto tubeless by creating valves from old inner tube valves, which you can do, but this is just a much easier way of doing things. So we're going to poke him through, and then the hope, yep, there you go, out the other side. So with a normal inner tube, you wouldn't necessarily bother with these, but we are going to use this cap, this screw, because this is going to hold the tubeless valve in tight and create the seal. So we're going to put the little rubber bung on, pushing it right in with our thumb while we're doing it. Okay, so it's right out, and then next screw this in. I'm going to apologise if the camera angle is awful. I'm working from a chest mount here at the moment. Let's screw that right in. As you can see, it's sitting in nicely in there. It's a nice little rubber bung inside there. So if you can see that there, that rubber bung is helping to create a nice airtight seal. So keep screwing that on nice and tight, making sure it's flush. Right, fairly happy with that for now. So the next step now is to try and sit the tyre in. Now there's two ways we can apply the tyre to the wheel. Well, there's one way you're going to put the tyre onto the wheel, but you can go in dry or you can go in wet. Now, we're going to go in dry on this instance. Now by dry I mean we're not going to put any soapy water on here, we're not going to put any wax on to try and help the bead settle in. Fairly confident with these tyres that they're going to sit on here straight away. We'll see, we might not. So we're going to line up the writing with the valve, and then we're going to make sure it's the right direction as well. So on here, arrows pointing back for rear, front for front. This is the front wheel, so we know this is going in the right direction. Let's pop the tyre on. There we go. So yeah, we're going to try and get this up inflated without using any soapy water. So this is the dry method. We can get this on, going on fairly easily, so that's good. There we go. No tyre valves needed, no tyre levers needed rather, sorry. So it's sitting on there quite snugly. Now, pumps. Two options here of inflating the tyre. We can just go straight normal using the normal track pump and see if that works. And if it doesn't, we have a tubeless inflator here which will push in up to 180 psi pressure straight into the tyre. But this is looking so flush, I'm going to try just the normal pump to start off with. If that doesn't work, we'll go for the tubeless inflator. If we struggle with that, that's when the soap and water comes out. If we're using soap and water, all you would do is you would just take some hot soapy water on a sponge and just run it around the valve, around the tyre rim here, around the bead of the tyre and the rim. And all that's going to do is it's just going to create a lubricated way for the bead to sit straight into the rim there. All right. Now we would normally remove the valve core. So you've got a valve core here, which actually we're going to remove before we inflate the tyre, just so we can get the sealant into there. And this is the Stan's valve core remover. Just very simply put it on, twist to loosen. As you can see, there's your valve core. Okay, don't lose that. Taking the core out is one, we can get more air in, and two, it's easy to put the sealant in that way. Not playing. So I'm now going to prime this up using this pump, and then hopefully get it on there and it'll all work good. Taking the core out is one, we can get more air in, and two, it's easy to put the sealant in that way. Not playing. So I'm now going to prime this up using this pump, and then hopefully get it on there and it'll all work good. Okay, so we've primed this up to 100 and one more push, 140 psi. So let's set the air in. Right, stop. So problem we've got here, see how that's sitting on that? You want that bead either side of the valve, otherwise air's just going to come straight out the side of that bead. PSI's in there. Make sure that valve's either side. Hot soapy water time. Worth a try. Okay, shy bands getting out, so it's always worth a try. But yeah, that's not working, so we're going to do the hot soapy water job. So be back in a second. So we've got a hot soapy water, and as I say, we're just going to get that right round on the bead all the way around. And all that's going to do, the soap and bubbles are just going to help create a bit of a lube effect to help get the bead to sit into the rim. Right, let's try it now, see if this will work. Oh, the dream. There we go, you can see the tyre filling out. Hot soapy water worked. So yeah, what we're now going to do is pop that off. It's obviously going to piss loads of air out, and we'll show you how to put the sealant in. So many people have a preferred brand of sealant. Most will use Stan's, which is one of the most popular ones on the market. There are other availables. There's Orange Seal, Slime Dew version, but in my experience, Stan's has just worked every time. Now, what I'm going to use here to show you is the Stan's injector. This screws onto the valve, so I'm just going to screw that on. Oops, if it will, go on you bugger. It's not a problem if it doesn't, it just makes life easier if it does. And then we're going to put, because these are mountain bike tyres, I'm going to put around about 80mm, because they're brand new, into this. So we're going to take out the injector, fill it up with Stan's, and away we go. So that's the Stan's injected. You're going to get a bit of spillage. That's what the hot soapy water's for, so you can clean up afterwards. So we're going to pop this out and then pump the tyre up, and fingers crossed we'll be all good in the hood. The way is we need to put our valve core back in, which should be in my pocket here still, hopefully. So we've got the valve core, that's going to go back in. Tighten that on with the valve core remover, and we're going to pump this up. So, a success. We've got the tyre set up tubeless. What we're going to do now, we've got sealant in there, we're just going to swish the wheel around, get all that sealant spread around the tyre, other side as well. This is a really high pressure at the moment as well, just to get everything around. Give it a sloosh as you're turning it. But there you go, a success. A little bit of trouble pumping the tyre back up again afterwards. The bead popped out. But all we did is just use the tubeless inflator again, and it's got the air pressure in there, no problem. So listen, can't hear any air coming out. What we're going to do now is leave this lay flat, horizontal, 20 minutes each side. It's like cooking a pie. 20 minutes each side, and then it'll be ready. And that is how you do tubeless. It really is that simple. And fingers crossed he manages to not damage this in any way whatsoever. There's some pretty gnarly treads on here, but all the principles that I've used on this tyre is exactly the same for road tubeless, exactly the same for gravel tubeless, BMX tubeless, if that such a thing exists. It all works exactly the same. So yeah, there you go, tubeless in a cinch.